I can't even imagine how her friends and family are feeling right now. My heart really goes out to them, because this is what all women are scared of when they're walking home, when they're walking to the gym, when they're meeting friends. This is the real, very real terror that makes us walk along the streets of our cities and our villages with our keys in our hands, that makes us send text messages to say where we are, that sort of takes registration numbers of taxi drivers, all these things that we have to limit our lives because this. Again, another woman has died only months after, Sarah Everard, Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman, and many, many women across the country. There's 106 women died to date in this country at the hands of men, in the home and on the streets. And that's the reality of living in the United Kingdom as a woman.
I think what will shock a lot of people about this is that the timing of it, 8:30-ish at night, people would have been jogging, walking around at that time. This isn't some sort of like 3 a.m. in the back of Beyond. This is evening time in one of our major cities.
It is, and the reaction each time this happens is for women to limit their lives. So how small do our lives have to become? Do we only get out to go at noon? And actually, as I said before, we're not safe in our homes either, because many women die at the home, the arms of their partners as well. So I think the answer is not for women to limit their lives. The answer is there's male violence that's an epidemic in this country, and that's what needs addressing. And asking women to limit their lives, putting more lights on the street, attack alarms are all things that can help, but we're not getting to the systemic problems and also addressing the massive problems we've got in our judicial system of prosecuting violence in the UK.
Many of those things, in terms of the short, medium, and long-term aims for campaigns like I Walk with Women and the campaigns that are about ending violence against women and girls, are based on big cultural changes, big social changes, judicial changes as well, which take time to work through the system. Yet some women are finding they don't have this time. And Sabina has found out that she didn't have that time. There are funds available for councils to apply for extra street lighting. There are pilots that are taking place within the police for having undercover officers around. What are those short-term things, do you think, that we can enact now that will make a difference to women's lives tonight?
I think we need to go a step back from that. I think we're relying constantly on short-term fixes for this. So if a woman wants to and feels safer carrying an alarm, I welcome it. If we have better street lighting and that makes women feel better, I welcome it. But we constantly just rely on this. We are not doing the long-term stuff. The police watchdog last week released a report that talked about violence against women and girls in the UK and likened it to terrorism. And that is what we've been talking at the Women's Equality Party for a very long time. We've got a domestic terror situation here, and we should treat it like that. And that's not what's happening. So absolutely, I welcome the short-term fixes, but they're not fixes. They're just plasters on a situation. So we need to do that work, because report after report comes out, minister after minister admits and apologises, police chief after police chief apologises. We're not seeing that systemic change. So absolutely, if a woman feels safer carrying an alarm, I welcome that, but we need to stop using it as a sticking plaster.
In terms of how you measure true change, no women being murdered on our streets, of course, is a target which we should absolutely all aim for. How quickly can we sort of create these targets, if you like? How quickly can we create a settlement, if you like, for women that says, this is the deal, this is how you will be protected. If something does happen to you, this is the means and the ways in which the system will come and support you and find those perpetrators?
Well, there's a couple of things that you can do straight away. So one of the things that's constantly pointed out every time there's a report on that the police forces across the United Kingdom have very different approaches to this. So we need a unified approach. And if we were tackling any sort of national threat, whether it's a health threat or a terrorist threat, you train special officers to understand and unpick the problems. So we need, in our big cities, we need specially trained police officers who can actually understand and react in a sensitive way to survivors and people who are reporting these crimes. We also can put some really great statistics in on actually prosecuting people who have been accused of rape and domestic violence. At the moment, rape in this country, the prosecution rates nationally are 1.7%. 1.7%. Now, there is a target you can very quickly start to look at. And the other part as well is we can stop defunding the specialist services up and down the United Kingdom that offer support to women who are fleeing violence, who are survivors of violence, to rebuild their lives. These organisations are fighting for funding in amongst all of the other funding that's going on. So the police, we need specialist task forces that actually can respond and support survivors. We need our courts to seriously look at the decriminalisation of sexual violence in this country, and we need to stop defunding those brilliant services that are helping women to rebuild their lives and escape violence, and critically stop that cycle of violence.
In terms of the survey that we conducted that looked at changing attitudes to safety in the light of these sort of much more talked about incidents, including both Sabina but also Sarah Everard, women spoke to us about the things that they were doing, including things like learning self-defense. And I think, I guess as a woman, there is a thought of, well, I need to wait for the system to change, and the system and society needs to protect me. But what are those things, do you think, that women who think, well, I need to take things into my own hand, what are those things that women should be able to do, but also should be empowered to do you think?
I think it's similar to when we were talking about attack alarms earlier. If a woman feels like she feels better for doing that, absolutely. I'm always for women to choose however they want. But we keep coming back to women. It's down to women's responsibility, women's shoulders to change this, to change the way we are, to defend ourselves. And I just don't think, I think it's sticking plaster again and again, because why on earth should I learn a martial art to protect myself instead of men stop raping and murdering us? Or even those who aren't doing that, being more sensitive around when you're following a woman down the street, you may be completely harmless. You know that, but the woman walking in front of you doesn't know that. So I think the sort of the societal issue here is that men may not be, it's not every man, but it could be every man. As a woman, we don't know that. So that's why women are wanting to defend themselves. And, I applaud that if that's what they want, but it doesn't fix the issue. It just means that women, again, adapt how they behave. And a woman should be able to walk down any street at any time of night wearing whatever she wants and feel safe. That's the ultimate goal that we want to. And ultimately, surely that's the world that we want our boys and girls to grow up in.